I like dye. Dye is pretty important to me as a builder, being used in blocks like wool, terracotta, and concrete, all of which are pretty much essential to the building community at this point. So I just decided to make a dye factory, and that's pretty much the entire premise of the video. By the way, might I just add, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. Like, I had 500, I went to sleep and I woke up. Where did you guys come from? Well, wherever you came from, please stay. I have more content coming along, and I'm sure you guys will like it, hopefully. Alright, let's start the video. So while I vandalize the local neighborhood and do some off-camera mining, let's talk about the logistics of making a dye factory. There are two primary ways of making dye. You either make dye using raw materials such as flowers, or you make dye using other dyes. If we want to make a dye factory, it's more beneficial to focus on the dyes that can only be crafted from raw materials, because that way once we have all of them, we can just craft the secondary and tertiary dyes ourselves. And by using the Minecraft wiki, we can get a list of dyes that we absolutely need to farm. As for what types of farms we need to build, we are basically required to build a cactus and cocoa bean farm, since those are the only ways to get their respective dyes. We can use a squid farm for black dye, a flower farm for red, yellow, and blue dye, and a bone meal farm for white dye. We also need another bone meal farm in order to power the flower farm, and a fuel farm in order to smelt the cactus into green dye. In addition, we need to be mindful about where we construct our dye factory. Obviously, it has to be next to some body of water so that squids can spawn, but depending on which biome we build our flower farm on, it will generate different types of flowers. We needed to generate poppies, dandelions, and cornflowers, and the only biomes that meet our requirements are meadows, plains, sunflower plains, and flower forests. Alright, let's recap what happened. Gathered resources, tore open a few interdimensional portals, went down mining and got skill issued by a skeleton. Oh my god! And this is why I don't play hardcore. And after getting my items back, I did some testing with cactus farms to see which one would be the most efficient. It's this design, by the way. In all the other designs, the cactus game ends itself too much to be more productive than this. After gathering that bit of intel, I went ahead and collected some resources before starting work on the cactus farm. With a cactus farm completed, I decided to tackle the squid farm next. I was originally going to use soul sand and magma blocks to transport and kill the squid. However, after doing some testing, I realized that squid aren't affected by bubble columns, so at this point I decided to abuse the food chain and use axolotls to kill squid and allays to pick up the items. This also meant that I needed to find an allay, which only spawns in pillager outposts. Normally this would have taken a lot of time, but by using pyrite I was able to hone in on the pillager outpost quite quickly. I see an allay. There it is. That's what we need. And with the allay secured, all that was left was to find the axolotls. There's one. There's one. Shoot. There's another. Alright. Also, while I was getting the allays, this happened. Oh no, I still had bad omen. I'm such a demonetization word here. I got 2 totems off of it though, so that was pretty neat. Anyways, time to build a squid farm. Thank you. And there you go. So yeah, our farm has been complete. So now the final farm to do. No, you silly goose, what do you mean final farm? You still got 3 more farms left to go. Starting with the flower farm. The flower farm makes use of 2 clocks, a redstone clock and an actual clock. The redstone clock controls the farm's inevitable cycle of creation and destruction, and the daylight sensor controls a water system that collects what's left. Then we dump everything into an item sorter, and that's the farm. It also doubles as our farm for white dye since we compost the seeds. After completing the flower farm, I decided that I wanted to upgrade my factory's infrastructure by replacing the sad downwards facing pipes with the more Chad straight pipes. Unfortunately, straight pipes are expensive, requiring ice, but like any major corporation in real life, I decided to cut corners in the name of profit. This, of course, resulted in pipes that did not work half the time. I could have reverted back to the lame, sad pipes, but I had already moved my flower farm up by 2 blocks to compensate for this, and I was lazy and didn't want to do extra work. So I decided to do more extra work by finding a village so that I could trade for a silk touch book so that I could put it on my pickaxe so that I could get the ice that I needed. I did all that for better pipes, and I don't regret it one bit. Having secured higher quality infrastructure, I decided to start work on the fuel farm. As much as I like to continue desecrating the graves of prehistoric plants in order to placate my insatiable corporate greed, I value efficiency over everything else. And in order to have the most efficient factory possible, we're going to have to use renewable energy. I'm talking about bamboo. It's easy to farm and it grows all the time. However, I did have to go out and get more resources because of all the pistons and observers it needed. Oh my. Now here's where I normally put a time lapse of me building the farm, but technology happened and replay mod decided not to save the replay of that. So just pretend that I built the farm instantly. There you go. And now for the last farm, which through process of elimination is the cocoa bean farm. I thought this was going to be the hardest farm to make because it has to be semi-automatic. The player needs to plant cocoa beans in order for the farm to work. But the final design of the farm turned out to be quite simple. What the farm does is have the player continuously replant the cocoa beans by cycling them around an AFK loop. At the beginning of each day and night, the farm harvests itself, which gives most of the cocoa beans just enough time to grow. Half of the produce gets shipped to a collection chest while the other half gets recycled back to the player so that they can keep planting cocoa beans. As for where to build it, I decided to construct it at the top of my squid farm so that by AFKing my cocoa bean farm, I'd also be AFKing my squid farm. Maximum efficiency. So I guess as a final tour of my dye factory, cactus farm, flower farm, bamboo farm, squid farm, and all the way up there, our cocoa bean farm. Again, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe. Bye-bye.